What if I told you the coin sitting in your car's cup holder, rattling around in your junk drawer, or buried in your couch cushions could be worth hundreds of dollars? Not some ancient Roman relic. Not a gold doubloon from a sunken pirate ship. Just a quarter. 25 cents. A coin most people toss into a tip jar without even glancing at it. But here's the thing, and this is what the average person never figures out. Certain state quarters from the late 1990s and early 2000s are quietly selling at auction for 50, 100, sometimes thousands of dollars. And the wild part? Most of them look completely ordinary at first glance. I'm talking about coins you may have already held in your hand. Coins that passed through your fingers while you were busy thinking about something else entirely. Today on Old Coin Empire, we're breaking down 5 specific state quarters that every serious collector and every curious beginner absolutely needs to know about. We're talking rare errors, hidden varieties, mint marks that change everything, and the exact conditions that send these coins from face value straight into the stratosphere. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to want to dig through every quarter you own. Let's get into it. The year is 1999. The U.S. Mint just launched one of the most ambitious coin programs in American history. The 50 State Quarters Program. 50 designs. 10 years. Billions of coins flooding the entire country. And the very first batch? That's where the story gets interesting. Connecticut was the 5th state admitted to the Union, way back in 1788. To honor that history, the Mint put something remarkable on the reverse side of this coin. The Charter Oak. And this was not just any tree. This was the tree. The legendary white oak in Hartford, Connecticut, where colonists supposedly hid the colony's royal charter in 1687 to protect it from a British governor who was determined to seize it and crush colonial self-rule. A tree that stood for defiance, for freedom, for the very birth of American identity. Think about that for a second. An oak tree that helped shape a nation, now pressed into silver-clad metal and handed out as pocket change. That's the Connecticut quarter. Now here's where you need to pay very close attention. The Connecticut quarter came out in 1999, which makes it part of the very first year of production for the entire state quarter series. And with first-year coins, the Mint was still dialing in its processes. New dies. New designs, new tolerances. That means mistakes happened. Some of those mistakes slipped past quality control and ended up in circulation. And right now, those mistakes are worth real money. The error that serious collectors hunt hardest for on Connecticut quarters is the die cap error. This is when a coin gets stuck to the die and then starts acting like a die itself, stamping the next coin in a distorted, domed, unnatural shape. It looks completely wrong. Alien, almost. And that is exactly why collectors want it so badly. A Connecticut quarter with a major die cap error in MS-65 condition, we're talking anywhere from $200 to over $800 at auction, depending on severity and eye appeal. But even without dramatic errors, condition alone can make this coin valuable. A pristine Connecticut quarter graded MS-67 by PCGS or NGC, meaning a near-perfect example that somehow escaped all the bumping and scratching of normal circulation, sold for $690 at a heritage auction. $690 for a quarter. And here's the thing about 1999 coins specifically, because this was the first year of the program. Many people were saving these coins as novelties, but most of them just tossed them in jars or bags, where they banged around and got contact marks. Finding a truly gem quality 1999 Connecticut quarter with no distracting marks on Washington's cheek or in the open fields of the reverse, that's genuinely hard. And hard to find means valuable. There's also the double die variety to watch for. On some Connecticut quarters, careful examination under magnification reveals slight doubling on the lettering or on the branches of the Charter Oak itself. These double die coins are not dramatic at first glance. You need a loop or a good macro photo. But once confirmed, they carry a meaningful premium over a normal example. Here's your homework right now. Pull out any Connecticut quarters you have. Flip them over. Look at the Charter Oak. Are the branches crisp and sharp? Does the bark texture look detailed and clean? Now, look at the lettering around the rim. Does anything look slightly doubled, slightly thickened, like the text is a faint shadow? If something looks off, do not spend that coin. Put it in a flip, write CT 1999 check on it, and set aside for proper look under magnification. And one more thing before we move on. Check your mint mark. Connecticut quarters were struck at Philadelphia, which uses no mint mark, and Denver, which stamps a small D. The San Francisco Mint made proof versions with an S mint mark. Those S mint proof coins in PR 70 deep cameo condition graded by PCS or NGC, are selling in the $80 to $120 range for a single coin. If you have old proof sets from 1999 sitting in a closet somewhere, they are worth pulling out and examining. Now, you might be thinking, okay, a tree on a coin, pretty cool. But the next quarter on our list, it has an error so visually bizarre, so immediately striking, that when people first encounter it, their first thought is that the coin must be fake. It is completely real, and it could be sitting in your change jar right now. South Carolina, the Palmetto State, admitted to the Union in 1788, the same year as Connecticut. But this coin came out in 2000, and at first look, it seems simple enough. The reverse design features a state outline of South Carolina, a tall palmetto tree on the left side, a Carolina wren perched delicately on a branch, and a yellow jessamine flower completing the composition. 3 official state symbols, all on 1 quarter. Clean, balanced design. Easy to glance at and move on. That's the trap, because the South Carolina quarter became ground zero for one of the most sought-after error varieties in the entire 50-state quarter series. And it's an error that hides in plain sight until you know exactly what to look for. It's called the rotated die error. Here's how it works. On every normal American coin, there's a specific relationship between the head side and the tail side. If you hold the coin vertically by the edges and flip it top to bottom, the reverse image should appear right side up. This is called coin alignment, and it is a consistent standard for United States coinage. But on certain South Carolina quarters, something went wrong during production. A die worked itself slightly loose in the press, and when it rotated, even a little, coins started coming out with the reverse design tilted at an angle, sometimes 45 degrees off, sometimes 90 degrees, and in the most dramatic cases, a full 180 degrees, completely upside down. A 180-degree rotation is called a metal alignment error, and when you flip a South Carolina quarter and the palmetto tree is hanging upside down, you feel it in your stomach. That immediate jolt of wrongness. That's the feeling every coin hunter lives for. The Mint catches most of these during quality control, but not every single one. Some made it out, some went into rolls. Some got spent at gas stations and grocery stores. And some, right now, are sitting in someone's coin jar completely unrecognized. A South Carolina rotated die error in decent circulated condition commands $50 to $150 depending on the degree of rotation. The more dramatic the rotation, the higher the value. In mint state condition, with no significant wear or contact marks, that number moves fast, with strong examples crossing $400 at specialized auctions. Beyond errors, the regular strike quality matters too. South Carolina quarters were struck at Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia and Denver business strikes in gem uncirculated MS 67 condition are tougher to find than people think and can sell for $40 to $100 in that top grade range. The San Francisco proof coins in PR 70 deep cameo, those sit comfortably in the $80 to $150 range for a single certified example. Now here is what I want you to do right this second. Find a South Carolina quarter. Hold it vertically by the edges with Washington's portrait facing you normally. Now flip it toward you, top to bottom, like turning the page of a book. Look at the palmetto tree on the reverse. Is it right side up? Good. That's normal. Is it tilted? Is it sideways? Is it completely upside down? If that tree is not sitting straight, you are potentially holding something worth real money. Do not put it back in your pocket. Do not spend it. Flip it into a coin holder right now and label it. And listen, a rotated design is exciting, but the next coin on our list doesn't just have errors hiding in its design. It carries one of the most dramatic historical stories ever pressed onto American currency, a moment that literally doubled the size of the United States. And within that coin exists a variety so subtle that even experienced dealers have handed it back as nothing special. Those dealers were wrong. Close your eyes for just a moment. Picture 1803. The United States is barely 27 years old. Napoleon Bonaparte desperately needs money to fund his military campaigns across Europe. And President Thomas Jefferson, seeing a historic opening, negotiates one of the greatest land deals in human history. Over 828,000 square miles of territory, purchased from France for approximately $15 million, roughly 3 cents per acre. The Louisiana Purchase. One transaction that doubled the physical size of the United States and set the course for westward expansion. Now open your eyes and look at the 2002 Louisiana quarter. Right there in your hand is that entire story compressed into a coin the size of your thumbnail. The The design features a brown pelican on the lower left, Louisiana's official state bird, wings slightly spread. Full of natural dignity, a trumpet rises on the right side, nodding to the incomparable jazz culture born in New Orleans. And in the center, a sweeping outline of the Louisiana Purchase territory with the words Louisiana Purchase etched right into the design. 3 symbols. Centuries of American story. All for 25 cents. But here's what most people walking past this coin and their change don't realize. Over 760 million Louisiana quarters were produced across the Philadelphia and Denver mints in 2002. That is a massive number. And when you produce coins by the hundreds of millions, dieware becomes a serious factor. Dies get used thousands and thousands of times before they're retired. And as a die wears down, the coins it produces start losing sharpness. Details soften. Edges blur slightly. This is why a fully struck, sharply detailed Louisiana quarter in genuine gem condition is rarer than the mintage number suggests. Most of those 760 million coins show some weakness somewhere. Finding one with the pelican's feathers fully separated, each individual bar visible, the trumpet's bell perfectly round and detailed, and the territory outlined clean and sharp, that is a coin worth paying attention to. A PCGS-graded MS-67 Louisiana quarter has sold at auction for $546. Just over 20 years old. Pocket chain from 2002. But beyond condition, there are specific die varieties that collectors catalog and chase on Louisiana quarters. Die gouges and die chips are the primary targets. These occur when the die itself suffers small damage during the production run, and that damage gets transferred onto every coin struck afterward. On Louisiana quarters, documented die chips appear near the pelican's eye, along the trumpet's valves, and within the lettering of Louisiana Purchase. These chips look like tiny raised blobs or bubbles where there should be nothing. They're wrong. They're weird, and variety specialists actively seek them out. A Louisiana quarter with a strong, clearly documented die chip in MS-65 or better condition can bring $30 to $100 depending on collector demand. That's not retirement money. But for a coin you might find in a roll from the bank, it's a very satisfying discovery. Here's what I want you to do. Look at your Louisiana quarters carefully. Get a basic magnifying glass, nothing fancy. Examine the area around the pelican's eye. Look along the lettering. Do you see any small raised dots or filled areas that seem out of place? Any spots where the metal seems to have bubbled up slightly where it shouldn't? If yes, document it. Photograph it. And consider submitting it to PCGS or NGC for attribution as a variety coin. Now we're heading into the final stretch of today's lineup. 2 coins left. And I need you to understand something. The next quarter, it has a specific error variety that stumped dealers for years. An error hiding so naturally within the design that it takes real knowledge to spot it. Most people handed these coins back as ordinary. They were walking away. Welcome back to Old Coin Empire. If you're just joining us the first time, go watch part 1 right after this video, because we already uncovered some genuinely surprising auction values on the Connecticut, South Carolina, and Louisiana state quarters. Coins that most people spend without a second look. Coins that are quietly selling for hundreds of dollars in the right condition. But right now we're moving into part 2, and I saved these 2 for last on purpose. Minnesota and Colorado. These 2 quarters carry the most dramatic error stories of the entire group, and one of them has a variety so specific, so well documented, that it has its own name in the coin collecting community. A name that makes serious collectors stop what they're doing and pay attention. You ready? Let's get into it. Picture a Minnesota morning in early September. The air is cool and clean. A lake is completely still, the surface like dark glass. Pine trees line the shore, their reflections perfectly mirrored in the water below. And cutting through that silence, a sound that stops you cold. The trembling, haunting call of a common loon. If you've ever heard a loon call across open water at dawn, you don't forget it. It's one of those sounds that feels ancient, like the land itself is speaking. That's the spirit the U.S. Mint tried to capture on the 2005 Minnesota quarter. And honestly, they came close. The design shows a loon sitting peacefully on a lake. Pine trees framing the scene on the left, the outline of the state above. Underneath it all, the inscription, Land of 10,000 Lakes. Because Minnesota doesn't just have lakes. It has 10,000 of them. Minnesota was admitted to Union in 1858, making it a relatively young state compared to Connecticut or South Carolina. But the 2005 quarter honoring that history, it became one of the most talked about coins in the entire state quarter series. And not just because of the beautiful design. It became famous because of trees. specifically because of an extra tree that shouldn't be there. This is the Minnesota extra tree error. And it is one of the most visually clear, most immediately obvious, and most widely documented error varieties in the entire 50-state quarters program. Here's what happened. On normal Minnesota quarters, the design shows a specific arrangement of pine trees along the left shoreline. The trees are placed deliberately in a particular composition that the designer intended. But on a significant number of Minnesota quarters struck from a specific set of dies, an additional tree appears, right there in the design. An extra pine, poking up where no tree should exist, nestled among the others, but clearly out of place to a trained eye. This happened because of a die polishing error. When mint workers polish working dies to extend their life and maintain sharpness, they sometimes inadvertently alter the design. In this case, polishing removed part of an existing design element, and what remained created the visual impression of an additional tree appearing in the composition. The result was a coin that looked almost right. Almost exactly like every other Minnesota quarter. But not quite. And that not quite is worth real money. Minnesota extra tree quarters in circulated condition regularly sell for $10 to $30 on the secondary market. Not dramatic, but for a coin worth face value at the grocery store, that's a genuine premium. In uncirculated condition, the numbers climb meaningfully. MS 65 examples of the extra tree variety have sold in the $50 to $100 range. And in gem MS 67 condition, top certified examples have reached $200 or more at auction. What makes the Minnesota extra tree particularly exciting for beginner collectors is that it's findable. This wasn't a rare one-of-a-kind die accident that produced 20 coins. It came from multiple dies and exists across a meaningful number of coins. You can actually find these in circulation. People have pulled them out of bankrolls, found them in change jars, discovered them in inherited coin collections that nobody had examined carefully in 20 years. It is a real treasure hunt with real odds of success, but you have to know what to look for. So here's exactly what to do. Find your Minnesota quarters. The design shows trees along the left side of the coin near the loon. Now look very carefully at the tree line on the right side of the design, near the state outline. On a normal coin, that area should be relatively clean, with the tree composition contained to the left. On the extra tree variety, you'll see an additional pine shape appearing where the design should be clear. It helps to compare two Minnesota quarters side by side, normal versus extra tree. Once you see the difference, you won't miss it again. And don't only check your loose change. Minnesota quarters struck at both Philadelphia and Denver were affected by this variety. Roll searching through bank rolls of quarters is still producing finds today. Mint state rolls from 2005 that were never opened are particularly worth examining, because the coins inside haven't been worn smooth by years of circulation. If you think you found an extra tree variety, photograph it under good lighting at an angle that shows the full reverse design. Compare it to verified examples online at PGS CoinFacts or in GC's registry. If it matches, seriously consider submitting it for grading and variety attribution. A certified, attributed Minnesota extra tree in a PCGS or in GC holder is worth significantly more than a raw, unattributed example. Now, before we move to our final coin, I want to address something. Some people hear about the Minnesota extra tree and think, okay, that's interesting, but I want something rarer, something more dramatic, something with auction results that make your jaw drop. Our last coin today, it has exactly that. Colorado, 2006, Rocky Mountains. And hiding inside certain rolls of this quarter is a set of varieties and error combinations that, in the right grade and the right certification, have produced some of the most stunning auction results in the entire state quarters program. You will not want to look away. 14,000 feet above sea level. The air is thin and cold. The Rocky Mountains stretch across the horizon in both directions, ridge after ridge, peak after peak, snow still clinging to the highest summits, even in late summer. Below, pine forests cover the lower slopes in deep green. The sky above is impossibly blue. Colorado, admitted to the Union in 1876, earned the nickname the Centennial State because it joined the country on the 100th anniversary of American independence. The 2006 Colorado quarter captures all of that rugged, breathtaking landscape on a coin the size of a fingernail. The design features a dramatic view of the Rocky Mountains, a sweeping valley below, pine trees in the foreground, and a banner across the top reading Colorful Colorado. It is one of the most visually ambitious designs in the entire state quarter series. A lot of detail packed into a small space. And that ambition created opportunity. Opportunity for errors. Opportunity for varieties. an opportunity for the kind of value that makes coin hunters go back to the bank for more rolls. Let's start with what every Colorado quarter collector is chasing in terms of condition. Because of the complex, detail-heavy design, achieving a fully struck Colorado quarter in gem uncirculated condition is genuinely difficult. The mountain ridges, the tree textures, the valley contours, all of these intricate design elements require significant striking pressure to come up fully sharp and complete. When striking pressure is slightly reduced, or when dies are slightly worn, these fine details start to flatten out and lose definition. This is why a Colorado quarter in MS 67 condition is a meaningful accomplishment. Finding one with every ridge of the Rockies sharp and defined, every pine tree fully detailed, the lettering bold and clean, and Washington's portrait on the obverse showing full hair and ear detail, that combination is rare, and rare is valuable. A PCGS graded MS 67 Colorado quarter has sold for over $400 at major auctions. A population report showing only a handful of coins at that grade level tells you everything you need to know about how difficult it is to find one. But beyond condition, Colorado quarters have produced some genuine error excitement. The off-center strike error appears on certain Colorado quarters, where the coin was not perfectly centered under the die during striking. This shifts the entire design to one side, leaving a crescent of blank planchet visible on the opposite edge. The more dramatic the off-center percentage, the more valuable the coin. A Colorado quarter struck 10 to 15% off-center can bring $30 to $75. A dramatic 25 to 40% off-center error in uncirculated condition, collectors have paid over $200 for strong examples. Then there are the die crack varieties. As dies age and wear, they develop small cracks. Those cracks transfer to coins as raised lines running across the design. On Colorado quarters, die cracks have been documented running through the mountain peaks, across the valley, and through the lettering. Strong, dramatic die cracks add genuine collector interest and a meaningful price premium over a normal example. There's also the mint mark story to consider. Colorado quarters were struck at Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Denver mint strikes, marked with a D on the obverse, represent a separate population from Philadelphia coins. Collectors building registry sets need examples from both mints in the highest grades possible, and competition for top-grade examples from each mint drives prices up. The San Francisco Proof Colorado quarters in PR 70 deep cameo condition are particularly beautiful coins. The cameo effect, where the design elements appear frosty white against a mirror-like background field, is especially dramatic on a coin with this much design complexity. The mountain peaks gleam against a polished background like a photograph. These PR 70 DCM examples carry values in the $80 to $180 range for certified coins. Now here is what you need to do with your Colorado quarters right now. Pull everyone you can find. Look at the reverse under good light. Is the design sharp and complete? Can you make out individual ridges in the mountain face? Are the pine trees in the foreground showing distinct branches and texture? Or do they look slightly mushy and blended together? Now look at the rim. Is the design perfectly centered, or does it seem shifted slightly to one side? Hold it at an angle, and look for any raised lines cutting across the design. Those could be die cracks. Check your Mint Mark II, that small letter just to the right of Washington's bow tie on the obverse. P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, S for a proof coin. Any Colorado quarter in original, unhandled, gem condition is worth putting in a protective flip and setting aside. Even if it turns out to be a common date with no errors, a high-grade Colorado quarter certified by PCGS or NGC is a coin that collectors actively want for registry sets. And if you find one with an off-center strike, a dramatic die crack, or any design anomaly that makes you stop and look twice, treat it like the potential treasure it might be. The hunt never stops. 5 coins. 5 stories. 5 reasons to look twice at your pocket change before you spend it. The Connecticut Charter Oak from 1999. The South Carolina Palmetto with its rotated die secrets. The Louisiana Pelican carrying the weight of one of history's greatest land deals. The Minnesota Loon with its famous extra tree hiding in the pines. And the Colorado Rockies, complex and demanding, rewarding only the sharpest and most pristine examples with real collector value. None of these coins are ancient. None of them came from a pirate ship or museum vault. They came from the U.S. Mint. They passed through cash registers and parking meters and vending machines. Some of them are sitting right now in jars on people's kitchen counters, unexamined and underappreciated. Maybe one of them is yours. That's the thing about coin collecting that keeps pulling people in. It's not just about money. It's about paying attention. Looking at ordinary things differently. seeing history and rarity and craftsmanship in something most people treat as throwaway. Start checking your quarters. Get a basic magnifying loupe. Compare your coins to the varieties we talked about today. And if you find something that makes your pulse jump a little, trust that feeling and get it checked out properly. Drop your finds in the comments below. Tell me what state quarters you're hunting. Tell me if you find an extra tree. Tell me if that South Carolina quarter flipped upside down. I read every single comment on this channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time. Hit the bell so you never miss a new video. And share this with someone who still thinks quarters are just quarters. They're not just quarters. This is Old Coin Empire. The hunt never stops.